All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's take a look at the charts. As always, we're going to look back in the past to see what we can see in the future. And as always, we got to go. So first up is going to be the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 has pushed down on that Friday when the president said his words. And so far, we're still bouncing around within that bar. Okay. If we get a break below, then we know we're going to continue to sell. If we get a break up, then most likely we're going to continue higher. But currently, we're starting a little bit of a range heading to the downside. But we'll see what happens as the next couple bars fill in. And most likely, we'll roll over and head to the downside with all the market weakness that we've been seeing. But of course, don't count your chickens till they hatch. Next up is going to be Bitcoin. And Bitcoin continues to look like it wants to sell off. It made a new low. And so now we're going to be looking for the new high and a new low. So if we do get a little push up, and currently we look like we are getting one in the pre-market at 109, right around in here somewhere. If this doesn't hold and comes back and retests here for some support, if that doesn't hold and we continue to head lower, then look for the retest down here where we put this pin bar in at 103,000. But currently Bitcoin is still looking weak, and we'll see what happens though. Next up is going to be oil. And oil is, of course, continuing to sell off. Look for $56 for support. If that doesn't hold, look out below. Next up is going to be Ethereum, and Ethereum is looking a lot like Bitcoin, which means that if we continue to sell off, it's going to continue to sell also. If Bitcoin continues to sell off, then Ethereum apparently is going to follow. Next up is going to be our gold, and our gold ran into some problems at 4,396. And the pre-market looks like it wants to go up and try it again, so we'll see what happens with gold as it hits that most recent high, and see if it finds a way through or if it comes back to retest that 4,000 area. Next up is going to be natural gas. Natural gas got a little pop-up in the pre-market. We'll see if that holds. But of course, with that pop-up, we got a window open. So, as those windows open, we need to close them. Just like this window opened here. Right? We came back and closed it eventually. It looked like we were running off and then ran into that and came back and closed that window. So now it popped up and opened another window. So that needs to be reconciled also. So look for a pullback at some point in natural gas to shut that window. Next up is going to be NASDAQ. And NASDAQ is kind of looking like the S&P, of course. It's still traveling within this bar that we put in on that Friday, when that fateful Friday when the president said he was going to raise tariffs on China. And so we'll see what happens. If we can't get up and close above here, then look for to continue to consolidate within here. Or if we get down here and close below, then look for it to continue to selling off. But currently it looks like it wants to continue higher on the NASDAQ. Next up is the silver, and silver, much like gold, ran into some resistance. Had a little sell-off, and now it's trying to find some support in this most recent or previous high, and we'll see what happens if it continues to find some support, and we'll go back and retest. Alright, we may be running into a little bit of a range here on the silver as it consolidates. Next up is going to be the Dow, and the Dow is trying to push higher, but it's running into some resistance here with the 20 days starting to roll over. As that 20-day roll over and starts to force it down, then expect the Dow to continue to sell off as that 20-day simple moving average is a pretty strong resistance line, and the Dow, as you can see here, tends to respect it. Respected it here until it broke through finally, and then came back and respected it as support, and used it as support until it finally broke down through again. Now it's going back to retest, and it's acting as resistance again. So who knows? Maybe this might be our support area once again at 45,000. So we'll see what happens with that as we move further into the future. But currently, the Dow is looking weak versus the 20-day simple moving average. And next up is going to be corn, and corn is trying to roll back up, but we know corn is in a down market currently, above that 200 and go bullish. Alright, so we'll see what happens with corn. Next up is going to be apple, and apple is trying to push higher, got that 20-day overhead. Apple is a heavyweight, and sometimes the Dow will move with Apple, so keep an eye on that and see how Apple continues to behave. If it continues to go higher, most likely the Dow is going to reverse and hit higher also. But we'll see what happens as that plays out. We got Archer Aviation, and it was doing a nice little move for a bit there, trying to push higher, and then it, as you can see, sold off. And now in the pre-market, it's up here somewhere in this range that we're getting ready to set up. So we'll see what happens with this thing as it decides if it's going to go higher or go lower. So we're going to have to give this one a couple more days probably. But in the pre-market, it's going to open up in here somewhere, about midway on that bar as of right now. So we'll see as we get closer to the opening of trade on the 20th. Alright, let's take a look at BBAI, Big Bear Artificial Intelligence, BBAI, and it looks like it wants to open up higher up in here somewhere in the pre-market. So we'll see how that works as we head into Monday's trading. Bull looks like it wants to sell off into Monday's trading, so we'll see what happens with Bull. Starting to get this little bit of a range right here going, so we'll see. We're based on this bar here, looks like it wants to continue going lower. Let's take a look at Chipotle Mexican Grill. Is trying to push higher. It's running into some troubles here at about $42. Put in a nice bar here, put in a nice bar there, and $42 seems to be a resistance area for it. So we'll see how it plays out. We got two red bars, an indecision bar, and then we got another indecision bar that was green. So we got the 20-day coming up underneath to act as support. Also the 8 and 9 SMAs acting as support. So if we get a nice green bar above this $42 area closed, then we can look forward to pushing higher and maybe retesting the $44.32, maybe $45 area, and we'll test that and then head up to that $47 area for another test. So we're currently Chipotle is looking kind of like it wants to go higher, but it's still in a bear market, so be careful because it's still below this 20-day or 200-day simple 200 and 150-day simple moving averages. So it's still in a bearish market, but it's trying to look bullish. Next up is going to be, let's take a look at Costco. Costco's a good one. Costco hasn't been tradable here lately. It's been just bouncing all around like crazy. So be careful with Costco. I had a window open, it came down, opened up another window, and so now it's got two windows that haven't been, well, this one actually is kind of closed because of this one here, but it opened up another window going to close that one. So it's got to come back and shut that window before going higher. So we'll see what happens with Costco. And Nvidia in the pre-market's pushing up against that 184 area. So we'll see what happens. It's been kind of messing around this 184 for a while now. So I actually would like to rather make that, yellow, because it's been acting more like a range than an actual movement. That most recent high, or that previous high, has been acting more like a range between there 184 and down here at 179.77. Alright, so we're gonna make that yellow and kind of keep an eye on it in that range. If it come down to the, let's pull this off, since that bar is already filled, we'll remove that. And so it wants to sit down in here, and it's been sitting down in here for, let's see, let's do 180 days, 4 hours. So on the 4-hour chart, as you can see, the bigger range would be down here, but the smaller range is where we've actually been spending some time in for the last few days. Alright, so you see me kind of bouncing around in this range between 179 and 184. So keep an eye on that. You may even be able to call it down around here at around 176. But and that'd be our midway point. As you can see, the distance between is pretty good. So we really could do this. Alright. Make that yellow. And then turn this and make it red. Alright. So that's kind of really how we're looking. That's our midway point, and that's our move to the downside. And the low of that is 176.21. So where we're at. Okay, that's Nvidia. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla is trying to push back up. It looked like it wanted to sell off, and then all of a sudden it's got new life breath into it. So looking at Tesla, get closer here. Alright, so we can remove this here. And so we could probably say, between here and here, is Tesla's range. Alright, and it looks like it wants to go up and retest it again heading into Monday. We'll see what happens once it gets up here, if it can push up and hold and get above and retest for some support, or if it's going to fail again like we did back here. Alright, and it's not really failing miserably, it's just kind of getting pushed back, it'll push back up, and then, like here it broke through, but then it just couldn't hold on to it and gave some back, and then here it tried to break through, but it gave more back. So it it could be a good trade as long as you're not being greedy. Because really you can't tell really where to jump in. You got this midway point here, that may work. Right, and that's not even really a midway point, as you can see. So there may be some more lower that Tesla could go. But currently, it's sitting up there at around pre-market about $444. So we'll see if it wants to push up to that 450 and retest, or if it wants to blow through it and go higher and finally close above it. All right, so that's all we got for the weekend roundup. Um, you know, everything is looking like it wants to try to go higher, but you got to be careful right now. It's 1 minute they're selling off, next minute they're buying it back up. So it's a kind of a they're kind of doing this whipsaw thing where they'll push it back up, and then when you think it's going back higher again, you jump back in and they sell it off on you again. So now is probably a good time to sit on the sideline and just watch and see what happens. Watch your favorite stock, wait for it to get to, the position on your charting system that you know how to, make the call on, and save some dry powder and make that call when you see that stock turning around and doing what you want it to do. Like Chipotle, for instance, I've been waiting for this thing to find the bottom so I could get back in it. And so it finally has, and so now I'm back in the trade again, and so I'm trying to take this thing as far as I can take it back up, and if it keeps running up, I'll sit in it and hold on for a while. And I like the company and I like to stay with it, but I'm not going to, watch it eat away at my profits. So that's all I got for you right now. Everything's looking pretty good. Everything looks like it wants to continue to go higher, but of course you got to be careful now with these, with the market being so sensitive to with the market being so sensitive to any type of news, whether it's good or bad. You have to be careful. So make sure you have your stops. Normally I would say don't put your stops in, but at this point I'm saying, yeah, you gotta have to have your stops in place. Mental stops, unless you can sit and watch the stock market all day long and into the pre-market or into the post and pre, after hours and before hours, then you're probably most likely, in after hours, I don't like to trade after hours or pre-market, so I would only do that when I'm sure I want to get out of the trade, and I want to get out at the price that I'm seeing. Normally I wouldn't bother with it. I'll just let it do whatever it's going to do in the pre-market or after hours, and then make my decision as the day opens up. But if I feel like, okay, well, it doesn't matter one way or the other if I wait till the next day or not, then I'll just cut the trade in the pre-market or in the after hours, and won't even look back. So that's all I got for you right now. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and as always, be careful out there, people.